The Washington Commanders needed a win in the worst way after the overreactions were rampant throughout national media and the fan base after the loss to the Packers, and that's exactly what they did against the Raiders on Sunday. Let's talk about it. I'm Josh Taylor with A to Z Sports Washington. The Commanders came away with a 41-24 win as they protected their house in a much-needed win when the vibes were down. There was concerns with the team, and then Jayden Daniels gets hurt, and just a lot of people rolled this team out. But they dropped 40 points with a backup quarterback in Marcus Mariota, which is not easy to do in today's NFL. And you can just look around the league with all the quarterback struggles and backup quarterbacks having to play, and they did not have the same results. But before the game even started, the Commanders made a shocking move by not just benching Brandon Coleman, who was a third-round pick last year, but marked him as a healthy scratch. He was inactive for the game, and that really left a lot of question marks of what does that mean for Brandon Coleman's future. You know, he played a left tackle last season. He started there and played pretty good, honestly, but then moved to left guard where everyone, including myself, figured that he would be even better. This seemed like it was going to be the natural fit for him. He has Laremy Tunsil to his left. He has Tyler Biadasz to his right. Everything was in place for him to perform well, and it just has not gone like that so far this season. Now, through the first two games, the whole offensive line hasn't been great, especially on that right side, but Brandon Coleman was a glaring concern so far. He allowed 6 pressures, and he was one of the lowest guards ranked in pass protection as well, and something needed to be done. Now, the Commanders also made a switch and had Andrew Wiley start at right guard over Nick Allegretti to kind of help out Josh Connolly Jr. on that right side, but they weren't done, and we didn't really see this move coming, to be honest with you. But Coleman, what does that mean for his future? But in his place, Chris Paul, who got the surprising start at left guard over Nick Allegretti. The surprises just kept coming, but Chris Paul taking advantage of his opportunity, getting the surprising start. In 26 pass pro snaps, he did not allow a single pressure, sack, hit, hurry, you name it. He kept that pocket clean on that left side and made sure he did his job. So just an overall impressive start for him. Like I said, I didn't expect him to start. I don't know if he had any plan or if he, prepped for it throughout the week or anything like that. But it just seemed like it was a surprise to everybody, including the local media. They didn't see this coming. Now, keeping the pocket clean, that's what Marcus Mariota needed. But we expected Marcus Mariota to operate this offense at a high level, and that's exactly what he did. And kudos to Cliff Kingsbury. I told him to just commit to the run this game and see how it went, even with Austin Eckler being out for the season, and that's exactly what he did. We saw it even as early as that first drive with Chris Rodriguez, who helped set up a touchdown for Marcus Mariota, who ran it in himself, and they did not stop there. We saw Bill croskey-merritt get the ball after that. He added another touchdown to his resume. And then Jeremy McNichols, the 60-yard touchdown where he literally mowed through 4 or 5 defenders. He's breaking off tackles. We thought he was tackled. Jeremy Chin was trying to get him down, and then he just pops out of the crowd and just takes it to the house and really kicked the doors open in a game that was stuck at 10-10. But it felt like the Commanders were dominating the game, but the score just didn't reflect that. And McNichols just kicked the door wide open for the offense when they really needed it the most. Now, the passing game was a little bit better today. Still wasn't, as effective as we're used to, and it's been 3 weeks now. Of course, you don't have Jayden Daniels this week, but I feel like we've been expecting a little bit more out of the passing game. But nonetheless, I saw 2 things worth being excited about, with Luke McCaffrey getting that 43-yard touchdown today, and then Terry McLaurin finally making his appearance in week 3. And honestly, he was cheated. I think he stretched it out to the end zone. His knee was not down. That should have been a touchdown. But nonetheless, Terry, 3 catches for 74 yards. Luke McCaffrey, second on the team with 3 catches and 56 yards. I know as a unit, the passing game is still struggling. But if you can lean on that run game like they did today, you dropped 40 points. Who cares? I don't care if we throw for 100 yards. As long as you're adding that many points to these games, with your backup quarterback especially, I want to see the game plan when Jayden Daniels does return, which is hopefully next week against the Atlanta Falcons, who looked terrible today, by the way. But nonetheless, flowers to Marcus Mariota, just making the most of his opportunity. Shout out to Chris Paul. Shout out to that run game. And Luke McCaffrey and Terry McLaurin making their presence known as well. And on the defensive side of the ball, one of the biggest keys for this game was making sure the Raiders still could not establish the run, which is something they have struggled with so bad. And we saw it firsthand today. There was a lot of opportunities where Washington was already in the backfield before Ashton Jeanty even had a hand on the ball, it seemed like, and they just couldn't establish the run. And we also got pressure on Geno Smith. You know, Bobby Sagner having a multi-sack game, Von Miller having a sack, which is exactly what we brought him in here for. 3rd and 6, got a big stop on Geno Smith, but then also Javonte Jean-Baptiste got a sack as he fills in for Dietrich Wise. And Dorrance Armstrong, who's off to an amazing start, honestly, is one of the top defensive ends in pressure so far this season. We wanted to see him finish and get to the quarterback, and that's what he did today. But this really allowed the defense to get in the backfield and just disrupt the offense before things could even get going. They gave up a big play early to Jacoby Myers, one of the first pass of the game, honestly. But then after that, it kind of settled in. And then at the end of the game, a lot of players left. Marshawn Lattimore was hurt. Trey Amos was hurt. We saw Will Harris get hurt. A lot of secondary players had to leave the game. And that's when the Raiders started to move the ball again and start creating a passing game. But for a majority of the game, they could not get anything going. And I have to give some flowers to that front 4, even that front 7 with the linebacker core as well. Just making sure Ashton Jeanty couldn't run the ball and just applying that pressure on Geno Smith and getting in his face and not letting Brock Bowers get anything open down the field. I mean, that's probably what surprised me the most. Brock Bowers, 4 catches for 38 yards. A week after Tucker Kraft had his biggest career-defining game against Washington. There was a lot of overreactions last week with the offense and the defense in a shorter week against the Packers, who are a really good team, even though they lost to the Browns today. And I think today really showed that, hey, even there is some injuries I'm worried about, but, we'll figure out what those are throughout the week, of course, when Dan Quinn gives his updates. But this is a team that is good in all 3 phases. Now, we'll talk about Matt Gay. He struggled once again, misses the short kick, makes the long one, which he got lucky because he missed the first attempt when the Raiders called a timeout, got that second opportunity, and made that second one, which he needed to desperately. So we'll see if they bring in any competition for a kicker. I don't know. I think they should. Young Hoku's out there. The kickoff was bad. He had as well, got a flag. It wasn't a great performance by Matt Gay, but maybe that one long kick was it 56 yards, saved his job in Washington, but we'll see this week as well. And already gave roses to Deebo Samuel for that opening kickoff to help get things going, but also Jaylen Lane, the rookie, getting a punt return for a touchdown. He's been so close on a lot of these punt returns. Like, he was 1 or 2 tackles away from really taking it to the crib, and it was awesome to see that. And this was just a complete game. It wasn't perfect. This is still a flawed team, by the way. I'm not saying this is a Super Bowl contender team at all, but I'm just saying the overreactions were a little too much after that Packers game. And I hope that this game kind of brings the vibes back up with the team. Obviously, like I said, there's injuries. Terry McLaurin had a quad injury as well. He didn't come back in. There's a lot to watch this week. We'll see how Jayden is doing with his rehab with his knee and if he's able to come back next week or if Marcus Mariota will have to play again as they go to Atlanta to take on a struggling Falcons team who benched Michael Penix Jr. today later on in the game. Probably wasn't worth having him out there anyways, but still, I am happy with what I saw today. There was a lot of fans, I'm not going to lie, a lot of my buddies and stuff were hitting me up throughout the week like, Josh, I'm worried about this game. I don't feel good about it. And I was like, look, just trust the process. Whatever happens, happens. But we saw last season that Marcus Mariota can come in and operate this offense at a high level, and that's exactly what he did. Minus the one bad fumble where he was, trying to go back to his Heisman days at Oregon and he jumped on a carry and lost the ball. If you take that away, Marcus had a flawless game because that's one thing he didn't do last year was, cause any turnovers. And like I said, he had the one fumble today, but aside from that, I think he did a great job. The offensive line looked much better, so maybe that new combination is how they roll things out moving forward until something goes bad again. But I think that's what they need to do. Stick to the run game, run behind this line, and then whoever's at quarterback, eventually that passing game is going to get going. And Terry made his first appearance today, like I said, so we'll see if he can come back and play next week as well. But there's a lot to build off of. Dan Quinn took a massive hit on the sideline. And for me, that was like a tone setter. That was like a wake-up call. Players were hyped after the game. I can only imagine Dan Quinn went to that locker room and cut like a 90s WWE promo with a bloody, busted nose on a hit that he took from Marcus Mariota and just got the team fired up. But this is the kind of win to do the same thing. That was a jolt. Dan Quinn getting laid out on the sideline was a jolt for the team, it felt like, and for the fan base watching as well. And I think that this win can do the same thing. This is something you build off of. The NFL is not easy. Like I said, you saw the Packers lose to the Browns today. You saw the Bengals get blown out by the Vikings with their backup quarterback. It's not easy to win a game with a backup quarterback. It's not easy to drop 40 points on a team with your backup quarterback. So, is this a perfect team? No. But should you be happy with what you saw today? Absolutely. There's a lot to build off of, and it's a long season, and it's only going to get better from here. We'll watch the injuries and see what happens throughout the rest of the week, but still, be happy. Victory Monday's here. Let's celebrate.